Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Your Excellency. A hearty welcome to everyone to this webinar on value-added taxes. This is being organized by the Embassy of India for the benefit of the Indian community. Thanks goes to Excellency Ambassador of India for giving us an opportunity to present the VAT webinar of today. Over the last few months, we have been hearing a lot of inquiries, a lot of concerns, and we are also facing a lot of issues, challenges with regard to implementation of value-added tax in Oman. In fact, Oman is in a better position when we compare it to other GCC countries, because now we have all the issues, challenges which were faced by all the other countries in the implementation of VAT in their region, in their countries, and the solutions which they have found. So we are placed in a very comfortable position, and the administration is becoming more easier for Oman government. Oman government expects around 400 million Omani Riyal of revenue to the government, and this I'm pretty sure that go a big way in reducing the deficit and tiding over the present situations and take Oman to a very comfortable zone in the coming 4 to 5 years time. The VAT law, which it was introduced in October 2020, was followed up by the executive regulations, which came about 3 weeks back, which consisted of about 13 chapters and 211 articles. When the government was considering the value-added tax, for the past 2-3 years, it was under consideration. It has given a big thought to the common people of Oman, how it is going to affect them, how the businesses should be placed in terms of taxation. And we are very fortunate that the government has understood the hardship that may be faced by the common people. Almost all the food items, all the day-to-day food items are either exempted or zero rated from the VAT regime. Most of our things, vegetables, food grains, and in addition to that, the medical expenses, the healthcare expenses, the education expenses for children, the sale and rental of even the residential properties, these are all exempted or zero rated. There has been a lot of concern which were raised by our Indian friends and rather expats in general. One was, whether there will be tax charged on their remittances to back home, whether there will be any tax on their deposits. So I would like to say that this is not a tax which is going to be affecting your deposits or the money which you are going to send back home. This tax is totally a different kind of tax. Some other people said, we already have taxation. Why this tax? Because you have to understand that income tax is based on income of business entities. There is no personal taxation here. It is only the business entities which are paying income tax. That also based on the net profit, they are paying 15%. And then, we have a sin tax which was introduced, rather the excise tax. This is, to keep the people away from the abusing their own body, like the liquor, drinks, and the tobacco, all these things, they will charge excise tax or what we call the sin tax. This value-added tax is a different kind of taxation, which is otherwise called as consumption tax. World over, we can say that 80 to 90% of the countries have implemented value-added tax in one way or other. In India, it is called goods and services tax. In United States, it is called in some states as sales tax. In Oman, it is called as value-added tax, or for that matter, in other GCC countries. The tax rate in Oman compared to other places is very minimal. It is only 5%. After accepting all the food items and healthcare products and medical expenses, education expenses, it is only 5% of the tax, and that too is going to be on, mainly you can say not on day-to-day items. There's some sort of a luxury items and not involving the day-to-day activities or day-to-day necessities of the people. It's only 5%. And as such, the ordinary people need not be that much worried. Of course, there will be a little bit of taxation, a little dose of taxation, like, you remit home money. For that, the exchange house charges commission. On that commission, there will be a tax of 5%. So if you are paying, say, 2 riyals for your remittance charge, it will be 100 by 3. So in a small way, it may affect like that. And so it's not a big affair for the common people. Another issue raised was by the business communities. VAT is going to affect them. But I tell you, most of the businesses act as as a postman. They collect the tax from the people and they remit it to the government. They pay the taxes for their procurement and then which they claim it from the government. But one thing we have to make sure, and the government is also insisting, that you have to comply with the requirements of registration, filing of your tax returns on time, remitting the money which is collected on time. It is, after all, the government funds at your disposal. So you are supposed to transfer that funds to the government on the stipulated time. When VAT is supposed to be implemented from 16th of April, and the first return period is June 30th, ending June 30th, that's the first 3-month period they said. And within 30 days of the quarter, you are supposed to file the tax returns. And non-compliances to registration and filing tax returns and not transferring the money to the government, there are serious consequences, which starts from 500 for minor offenses, it goes up to 20,000 riyals, and also in some cases imprisonment from 1 year to 3 years. So my request to my fellow Indian community people are that, compliance is very essential. Please see that, you make your businesses subject to the VAT regime, the proper and stipulated. And, to take you through the various stages of taxation, the implementation, the registration, and then the non-compliances. I have with me my colleagues, directors, Mr. Taisir Al-Rawahi and Ms. Asa Rengan. They will take you through the various slides of value-added tax. And, at the end, we will be giving you opportunity to ask the questions and clarify your doubts. And even after the webinar, we are all here. You can send a mail, and then we are all there to answer you. And then now it is my pleasant duty to introduce and thank our ambassador, Excellency Munu Mahavir, for the great opportunity he has given to us. And in fact, last week only Excellency called and said, we have to conduct some VAT awareness webinar for our Indian community people, because we are a big, largest community of around close to 700,000 people in Oman. And we said, definitely we can go ahead and do that. And this is how, at the fag end, and just on the eve of the Ramadan starting, and 16th is the value-added tax commencing. So just before that, we wanted to reach to all the Indian people, Indian friends here, the implications and the non-compliances to the value-added tax. With these few words, I request Excellency to address this participants.
Thank you, David ji. Good afternoon. Let me begin by noting that we are meeting on a very auspicious day. Tomorrow, the holy month of Ramadan will commence, and I take this opportunity to extend my best wishes to all the members of the Indian community and to our Omani friends. May this holy month bring peace, happiness, and good health to all of us. Today is also the beginning of the Hindu year, Hindu New Year. We have Baisakhi today. We have Chaitra Navratri. This day is celebrated in different parts of India under different names. So it is really a very auspicious day. So my greetings to all fellow Indian citizens residing in Oman. I would like to thank Mr. Davis and Crow for taking this initiative to organize this awareness webinar on the eve of introduction of VAT in Oman. In fact, as Mr. Davis was mentioning, I was having a conversation with him and I wanted to understand the impact of VAT for the public services that embassy provides. And we were just trying to figure out the implication. And I realized that some of the things were not so clear to us, which of course were made clearer in our interaction. And that is when the idea of holding a webinar for the benefit of the larger Indian community in Oman came up, and I am happy that they have agreed to organize this webinar. In general, of course, economic cooperation between India and Oman is a top priority for us. We have a vibrant economic partnership which is evolving, which is growing. More importantly, in recent years, and particularly post-COVID, governments of India and Oman both have undertaken several initiatives which will have impact, hopefully positive impact, on the way we are going to conduct business in future. Many initiatives have been taken, many reform measures have been introduced, and it is really essential for the Indian community residing in Oman to develop a good understanding of these developments, because they have always been an integral link between our two countries. And as we seek to further strengthen economic cooperation, the role of the Indian diaspora in Oman will be really critical. So it would be our endeavor from now on to organize more events, to disseminate information, to present details of various economic initiatives that the government of Oman has taken, and reach out to the Indian community. We will use various platforms. We have in the past collaborated with the ICAI to organize some events. So really, I mean, I do see the utility of holding such events, and clearly there is a lot of interest, because as I see already more than 150 people have joined us, and I think more than 300 people had registered for this event. So I would like to once again thank Mr. Davis and Crow for taking this initiative, and without further ado, I invite them to go ahead with their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I would request my colleagues, Mr. Taisir Al-Rawahi, to initiate the presentations of today, and followed by Ms. Artha Rangan, who will take on from there. Okay, thank you. I hope you enjoy.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you for Indian Embassy to give me a chance today to talk about value-added tax in Sultanate of Oman. I'll go through for this VAT timeline on GCC country. VAT timelines in GCC. In 2016, in November 2016, 6 GCC countries signed an agreement between 4 GCC countries, UAE, Oman, KSA, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar, to implement VAT in this GCC country in 2013. In 2013, only Saudi Arabia and UAE implemented VAT from 1st of January 2018. And also another country not implementing the VAT. In 2019, Kingdom of Bahrain is implementing VAT in January 2019, and Sultanate of Oman this time it tried to give in 2019, but that's not happened. In 2020, KSA it reduced the VAT rate from 5% to 15%. That's from July 2020, and Sultanate of Oman they issue the royal decree in 12th of April 2020 regarding that VAT law in Sultanate of Oman. 2021, Oman, the executive regulation is mounted on 14th of March 2021. Now we go deal with the VAT law in Sultanate of Oman. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Said is issued royal decree number 121 in 2020 regarding VAT law in Sultanate of Oman, and there are 13 chapters in the law, and around 160 articles. And this and implementing and so this VAT law is published in Office Gazette number 100,362 in 18 of October 2022. And it tells that's implemented after 180 days from the publish on the Office Gazette. That means is inshallah is implemented in next Friday in 16 of April 2021. And His Excellency Saud bin Nasser Shekeli, the head office of tax authority, they issued the executive regulations in March 2021. That's also published in Office Gazette in 1382 in 14 of March 2021. And there are 13 chapters in this regulation, and also there are 211 articles. That's institute regulation ER give more details, more information about how to go to the tax value-added tax. For example, how tax value tax calculator, how to come there. If you tell my sales difficult, tell there many question about exam and zero rated many items. There are many items, and how to deal with the registration, how to collect the refund from tax disputes, and transaction profession, how to deal with that with the VAT law. I'll go for VAT regulations. There are some points you have to know from the law. The VAT is levied on any taxpayer, supply of goods or service, maybe by tax persons on the course of the business letter of by him. Supplier, that means supplier usually mean anything done for consideration, and taxable suppliers, all good and service supplier in the country will be taxable supplier unless specific exam or the outside of scope of zero rating. Deemed supply is this free of cost supply. For example, the symbol specific of gift for your customers, goods, all types of specific particular, for example, asset, tangible or non-tangible assets you to share. Surface, any supplier transaction which doesn't consider supplier of the good should be considered as the supplier of service. If not considered like good, that means the supplier with the service. Taxable person. Taxable person is one who made the condition of registration activity, done the ordinary course of the business, and you want to know the taxable person, not only the person who have the CR number, also the taxable person who don't have the CR number, and maybe, for example, not resident in Sultanate of Oman, also that's in VAT is taxable person. Value-added tax concept. How the value-added tax concept? The VAT is considered consumable tax. VAT is charged of every each step of the supply chain. I'll explain all that information inshallah on next slide. And also VAT be to customer, sales should be taxed, and business to business. Also, this is tax, but they can recover back from the credit tax employed. Company cost of the collection of the benefit of the government, like again for the government. And you know that VAT collection from the sales mean that output of VAT, and VAT paid on purchase or for sales for purchase, that's input VAT, and output of VAT collection from the customer and is payable to the government. Net of the input VAT paid to the purchase, for example, VAT payable is output VAT minus input VAT. If input VAT is more than output VAT, the refund to be covered forward the next period. And the law, inshallah, next slide will give more information about this, inshallah. Now I tell you how VAT works. For example, you see the slides. There are many, for example, the suppliers and factory, wholesaler, and retailer. For example, the suppliers, you supply some materials to factory around 100 riyals. If you supplier on 16th of April, next Friday, is you have to charge 5%. That means charging 5 riyals VAT. The suppliers, you get 100 riyals and 5 from the factory. This 5 riyals, not for supplier, this for government. The supplier, you remain this 5 riyals to tax authority of governments. In the second step, you see the factory is purchase this materials from the suppliers, 100 riyals, and pay 5 riyal VAT. And you have to sell to wholesaler, for example, 200 riyals, and you charge him 5% VAT. That means charge him 10 riyal VAT. If you already see now factory is get 10 riyals from the wholesalers VAT, and already pay before 5 riyal to suppliers. That means 10 VAT is our input and minus 5 VAT. The balance is 5 remain or 5 riyal. This 5 riyal give to tax authority. In the third supply chain, the wholesalers, you purchase 200 riyals from factory, and you try to sell this product to a retailer around 300 riyals, and you also charge him 5%. That means charge him 15 riyals VAT, and remain, for example, 15 riyal VAT you get from the retailer, and already pay 10 riyal to a factory. That's you have to 5 riyal remain to tax authority. In the final chain, the supply, retailers, you sold this materials to individual or customer or consumer. For example, you sell 500 riyals, and you have to charge him VAT 5%. That means you have to charge him 25 riyals VAT, and see the retailer, you get 25 riyal VAT from the individual or consumer, and already pay 10 riyals before to wholesaler. That's mean 25 minus 15, you have 10 riyal to give to tax authority. In the NDC, the tax authority or the government, you get 5 riyals from the suppliers, 5 riyals from factory, 5 riyals from wholesaler, and 10 riyal from retailer. That means the total 25 riyals. Who pay this 25 riyal? The end of the consumer only pay this 25 riyals. And his minister, Saud bin Nasser Shekeli, issue the degree number 120 and 220 number 1 221 regarding the registration shareholder and decision number 1. That means their mandatory registration. If the value of taxpayer supply is 500 riyal, 300,500 riyal, that's mean mandatory registration. You have to register in the tax authority, and also vendor registration. That's mean 19,250 riyal. That's 50% from the mandatory registration. If the power of taxpayer supplier and expense monthly around the test, and also non-resident, any value mandatory to register through the tax respective Art 75, and value suppliers includes Article 56, the value of supplier, value of taxable supplier, value of good and service supplier to RCM, and value interior GCC supplier of good and service. How to deal with that brief of competitive turnover? Article 55, grow back total value of the supplier achieved by the end of the month, and additional to the 11 month just period. And forward looking for total value of the supplier expect to be maybe end of the month, additional to the 11 month just forward, inshallah, and to get to check it this or achieve it on 38,500 or achieve it 19,250 riyals for the entry registration. And the tax authority also gives decision number 3, in addition to the proof of the VAT registration. The tax authority gives chance for the small and entity companies and the SME. For example, you see this is your turnover on the annual value taxable supplier for the taxable person more than 1 million riyal. You must register from 1st of February 2021 till 15th of March, and the effective registration date is 16 April 2021. And this already the tax authority extend this till up to inshallah 15 of April 2021. If your annual value taxpayer supplier is between 500,000 riyal and less than millions, you have to start registration, must to register from 1st of April 2021 to 31st of May 2021, and the effective registration date is 1 July 2021. If your annual value of taxpayer supplier for taxpayer persons between 250 riyals and 400 less than 500,000 riyals, registration windows from 1 April 2021 to 31st May 2021, and between 250,000 and less than 500,000 riyal, you have to register from 1st of July 2021 to 31st August 2021, and the effective registration date is 1 October 2021. The end of that between the annual value of taxable supplier of the suppliers is 38,500 and less than 260 riyal. You must to register in 1st of December 2021 to 28th of February 2022. The effective registration date is from 1 April 2021 next year, inshallah. The tax authority also giving the option to tax persons to register individually on 1st of February 2021. The tax authority also that value of the tax invoice. See, this tax invoice is very important for all the taxpayer. You have to give this information. The tax authority give you this information. For example, your company name, VAT numbers, and TIN number, tax card. You have to give there office details and also customer names, VAT TIN number of VAT for customer name, PO box and office, and also invoice date. When the date you show this tax. Before the number, date of supplier, date of payment or advance refunding date, and the tax invoice is to be issued by Omani riyals or any other currency. In the case if you issue the foreign currency, the tax value is to be collected on the Omani riyals bill the fresh purchase and the sales price of the currency published by the Central Bank of Sultanate of Oman at the tax due date. And the tax authority give you a chance for the small and entity companies and SME to use another format for tax invoice. For example, this one you can see now. This also invoice number, invoice date, supplier date, payment, and also if you there have discount, you give them after discount only that VAT is come. And split invoice notes, you need approval from the tax authority required. Can be issued and up to only is less than 500 riyal, Omani riyals, for that simple tax invoice format. And this format sometimes you use, for example, Lulu, Carrefour, filling station, because that's you have to daily work and transactions. Documentation recommend the record to keep. What's record you have to keep in your book and the accounts? Daily bookkeeping and account record. Record for tax exempt suppliers. Pre-board inventory records also. Record and document warranty of supplier of the import of export goods and service. Record and document warranty of all custom transaction. All document with of the zero rate, taxable supplier, tax invoice and other documents issued by the taxable persons. Record continue for the date needed to correctly to tax remittance, and also tax returns. The tax returns, the first tax returns come from 16th of April till end of June, and the law give you 13 days that you have to be 30 of July to submit the return, first returns. And you have to give the general data of the taxable persons, tax individual number of the taxable persons, the tax period of which tax return is submitted, the value of taxable and exempt supplier, the value of important goods, the value of import tax during the tax period, for which tax return period, and the value of the import tax and direct, the value of tax during the reporting tax period, and any other details you need the tax authority for that details. Now we'll go when you try for registration in the VAT, the tax law, you have to keep the responsible persons. The taxable person should upon registration into the authority of liberation of the responsible persons must notify the authority if which the persons go out of Sultanate of Oman more than 19 days. You have to write to less 15 days to a tax authority. You give to another person to this chance. The authority should be designed on this request within the period of next 7 days from the date of applications. And if not resident person who has not place of residence in the Sultanate should register with the tax authority, he may appoint to tax agent after you give application to approve for tax authority who is this your agent, and the tax agent will be responsible to the person on the all that is resident to his tax ability and right on things. And now I give the speak up to Ms. Asta to deal for all that slide, inshallah, to give more information about VAT law in Sultanate of Oman.
Good evening, everybody. Namaskar and salam alaikum to all the attendees, and thanks to His Excellency for giving us an opportunity to join hands with Embassy for a VAT awareness session for the Indian community. So I thank my colleague Taisir for giving us a brief about how the VAT registrations will go, what are the responsibilities of the entities, when they need to register, and what are the registration process and formalities. So as most of the businesses in Oman would have registered, because their registrations begin in 1st February. So I believe all of you will be quite aware about the VAT law. So now in my session, I will take you through some of the key provisions of the VAT law and the updates from the executive regulations. So starting with that, we all know that VAT law in Oman has got 4 key treatments. First is your standard rated, that is 5% VAT will be applicable on most of the products. Then there is a list of available zero rated categories. Then there is a list of exempt categories. And then there are certain out of scope transactions. So let us look one by one into each of these categories. Coming to the out of scope supplies, the VAT law has clarified that certain transactions will be falling out of scope from VAT perspective. So what are these? So in case an entity or a group of entities go for a VAT grouping, then in that case, all the transactions or the interrelated transactions within the VAT group members will be out of scope. Let's take an example of a group like Bhavans. Bhavans will have a lot of entities. So if 4 or 5 of the entities go ahead for a VAT grouping, then they will have one VAT in registration number and one return will be filed at the quarter end. So in that case, all the interrelated transaction between that VAT group members will be treated as out of scope, and such transactions need not be reported in the VAT return. Coming to the insurance companies, like in case insurance company is making any settlement of insurance claim, then such a transactions will fall out of scope of VAT. There won't be any VAT on the settlement amount. Coming to the transfer of business activities, let us say in an entity, one of the business activity or one of the vertical of a business is being transferred wholly or partly. In that case, such a transfer will fall out of scope, provided that there are certain conditions mentioned in the executive regulations. You need to comply with those conditions. Moving towards the exempt categories. Now in the VAT law, when it was issued in October, we were provided that these are the business or these are the industries which will be exempted from VAT. Like financial services are exempt, healthcare and related goods and services are exempt, education and related goods and services are exempt. Any supply of underdeveloped land or a bare land is also exempt. Resale of residential real estate is exempt. Only the residential is exempt, not the commercial one. Local passenger transport is exempt. Only the passenger transport, goods transport will be VATable. Renting of real estate for residential purpose will be exempt, not the commercial one. Coming to the imported goods, in case you are importing any goods and those goods are used for supplying exempt or zero rated supplies, then such imports will be exempted. Like in case of imported goods by use of diplomats, counselors, international bodies like embassies and all, such imported goods will also be exempt. In the case of imported goods which are used by armed forces, that also will be exempt. Any personal belongings for residents or foreigners coming to reside in Oman for the first time, that will be exempted. There are certain conditions attached to it. Any imported goods which are used by an NGO, that also will be exempt. Any imported goods which are supposed to be returned will be exempt. Any personal belongings and gifts received by passenger or people with special needs will be exempt. So this was the law which stated that. Then in the executive regulations, we saw that there was more clarity on each of these industry segment, which I will discuss with you in the coming slides. Let us first understand what is the main treatment in the case of exempt supplies. What will be the difference between an exempt category and a zero rated category? So let us take an example of a university. Let's say that a university falls under an exempt category, that is education, and the courses which the university is providing are also exempt courses. So in that case, let's say for example, the university is buying certain computers for providing these courses. The purchase value of these computers are 500 riyals. So this computer supplier is not falling in any of these exempt supplies. he will definitely charge you 5% VAT on his sale. So this 25 riyals of VAT, which a university is paying, is a blocked input. So the university will not be able to claim the VAT credit of this 25 riyals because it falls under an exempt category. So for a university or any of the entities which fall under the exempt category, these input VAT, which they are not able to claim it as credit, is an additional cost for the business. So they have to bear this cost, or we can say that the prices in the market will go up by this much amount. So this was the list of exempt supplies. We will discuss each one of it separately also. Coming to financial services, as I told you, financial services will be exempt. Now these financial services should be provided by banks or institutions which are authorized by Central Bank of Oman, right? So only authorized financial institutions will fall under an exempt services, right? So in case, let's say for example, you are an industry and you are providing in-house financing to your customers, but that in-house financing is not a recognized financial services approved by the CBO, then you will not fall under an exempt category, right? And coming to exempted services, this is the list of services given in the executive regulations. Let's say a financial institution provides loans, that will be exempt. Deposit of funds in the current account and savings and deposit accounts will be exempt. Any supply or transfer of any financial instruments like futures, options, derivatives, bonds, shares, or other securities, these all will be exempt. Pure life insurance services are exempt. Other type of insurance services like Mediclaim insurance, that will be VATable. Then in case of lease purchase transactions, the credit installments, these all will fall under exempt category. The executive regulation has also stated that the Islamic financial products will be at par with non-Sharia financial product, and the same treatment will be given to those products also. Now there are certain exceptions. Let us say the financial institutions are charging certain service fees or commission or similar charges, then that will attract VAT. Let's say when you are getting a checkbook issued from a bank, so the bank will charge a nominal fees. So on that fees or the commission, VAT will be there. If you are going for issuing a tender bond, so in that case, the bank will charge something to you, small fees. That fees will attract VAT. Apart from that, everything will be exempt for a financial institution. So it is advisable for the entities who are providing such kind of services to evaluate their business transactions, and in case they have any kind of fees or commission attached, they should register for VAT. Coming to the healthcare segment is also exempt from VAT, provided that these healthcare institutions are authorized by Ministry of Health, right? So these are the list of services which will be exempted, like general medicine services, specialized medicine services, laboratories and dentistry services, psychiatric medical services, physiotherapy, nursing services, midwifery services, diagnostic and curative services, surgical and rehabilitative operations and plastic surgeries are also falling under exempt category. Now, in case you are providing any other services which are directly linked with any of these healthcare services, those services will also fall under exempt category. For instance, you are providing ambulance services, or there are OT expenses during the operation, you are providing certain consumables. So all those things, if they are directly linked with these services, they will also fall under an exempt category. Now, in case a healthcare provider, a clinic or a hospital is providing other kind of services like food and drinks, they are supplying, they have an in-house canteen, they are charging for the parking for the visitors, then in that case, these type of services will be VATable and it will not be exempt. So logically, a healthcare institution, if they are providing any mixed services, they have to register for VAT. Coming to education segment. Now, education segment is also exempt from VAT, provided these educational institutions are licensed by Ministry of Higher Education or any other competitive entities. Further, these courses which they are providing, these courses and the curriculum of these courses should also be approved by Ministry of Higher Education. Then only you can avail the exemption. So these are the kind of exempted educational services like KG to nursery services, education in all stages of studies, higher education, vocational and technical education, education meant for senior citizens, meant for handicapped, including blind and deaf, teaching of any other languages, vocational training institutions, supply of education material, any kind of other services like event management, trips, cultural or educational and professional seminar which are directly related to these services, then only it will fall under an exempt category. Even like transportations and uniform provided to students will also fall under an exempt category, right? Moving to land and residential real estate. This is also exempt services. Now let us understand what does a land means or a bare land means. So in the exempt services, I told you that supply of bare land or an underdeveloped land will fall as an exempt supply. So land means anything where there is no building or any engineering work on it. So even if the land has got any kind of structure like roads or a water pipes or a cable on top of it or underground of it, still the land will be treated as a bare land and the supply will be exempt supply. Coming to residential real estate services, yes, sale of residential building is an exempt supply. Coming to leasing part, leasing of real estate only for the residential purpose is exempt provided these conditions are met by the executive regulations. So what are the two important conditions? First condition is that such a lease should not be for less than 3 months period. So this is a minimum time for a lease to be treated as an exempt lease, and then the lease should have a legal tenancy contract. If both these conditions are met, then only the real estate for residential purpose will fall under an exempt category. Otherwise, it will be VATable. Now, there are certain exceptions to this, like the hotels, tourist complexes, industrial complexes, commercial complexes, or any other facility that provides night stay or breakfast or hospital or identical building, any kind of non-permanent structure or quota cabins. These type of real estates will not fall under the definition of residential real estate, and these will be VATable at 5%, right? Coming to local transportation of services, that local transportation services is also an exempt services. This is related to only the passenger transport from one place to another, right? And this is all restricted by the timing and tariff announced by the government, and it should be like a public taxi transportation or Mawassalat buses. These all will fall under exempt services because they are local passenger transport. Now there are certain exceptions. Let's say for instance an entity is having its own buses, and these buses are used to commute laborers from office to the site. In that case, this type of transportation will not fall under passenger transportation. It should be a passenger transportation provided by government, right? Coming to tourist baggage and personal goods, these are also coming under an exempt categories. Now there are certain conditions specified in the executive regulations to claim the exemptions. So in case a tourist is coming to Oman, so he will definitely have certain tourist baggage or personal goods accompanied with him. In that case, the executive regulation says that such a goods which he is bringing into Oman should be his personal property. And this personal property should be for a personal use and not for any commercial use, right? And the quantity, the custom department will check how much is the quantity of those goods which you are bringing to Oman. So if it is of a personal nature, daily and personal use, if the value of those goods does not exceed 300 riyals, then the custom department will allow the exemption. And also such a visitor, he should not be a regular visitor for a custom department, like an importer and all. Then only basically the custom department will check those items and then allow the exemption. In the case of cigarettes, if a tourist is bringing a cigarette, then there is a limit. They are allowed only to bring 400 items, 400 cigarettes in Oman. More than that, it will not be exempted. Coming to belongings of handicapped goods. Now, in the case of handicapped goods, if they are being brought in or imported from outside Oman, then there are certain conditions in the ER. If these conditions are met, then these goods will fall under the exempt category. Firstly, these goods should be brought in by government entities who are licensed to provide cares, like NGOs and all. They have certain license to operate such NGOs, and if they are bringing certain goods, it's fine, it will fall under an exempt category. Or there are certain licensed societies who can bring such goods, or the holders of handicapped personal cards. Only these people will be allowed the exemption. And such a goods which are brought in to Oman, these goods shall not be of commercial nature, right? It should be basically for the requirement or the usage of the society, right? And the society or the individual using such goods should use those goods for a minimum period of 3 years. So in case these goods are disposed of within that period of 3 years, then they will attract VAT, right? Coming to zero rated supplies. Now, before I move to zero rate supplies, I would again highlight my first slide on exempt category, wherein I highlighted that in the case of exemptions, the input VAT is blocked. Now, once you read the zero rate supplies, you will understand the underlying difference between an exempt category and a zero rate category. Let us look what are the industries and the items which fall under zero rating. Food items are zero rated. Recently, we saw the tax authorities have announced a list of 488 items of food items which will fall under zero rating. So rest all items will be standard rated. Now, supply of medicines and medical equipments are also zero rated. The list from the authorities is still awaited. In the case of investment in gold, silver, and platinum, that is also zero rated. International and intra-GCC transport of goods and passenger is also zero rated. So your airfare will be zero rated. Supply of sea, air, and land means of transportation for transporting goods and passenger for commercial purpose. So in case you are supplying any of such vessels and those vessels are used for commercial purpose, then the supply will be zero rated. Supply of rescue aircrafts, rescue boats, and auxiliary ships is also zero rated. Supply of crude oil and its oil derivatives and natural gas is also zero rated. Exports is zero rated. Globally, exports are zero rated in a VAT regime. Now, in case your goods are lying under a custom duty suspension situation, then also it is zero rated. Re-exports are zero rated. Exports of goods and services, if the supply is exempt, then also it is zero rated. And there are certain provisions in the executive regulations regarding free zone entities. So free zone entities are special, and free zone is a special. Free zones have got special treatment, and in Oman, free zones are zero rated. Now let us try to understand the difference between a zero rate category and exempt category. Let's take an example of a pharmacy. Now, pharmacy, for them, the supplies are zero rated. Let's say the pharmacy is purchasing certain packaging material worth 500 riyals. So how much VAT a pharmacy will have to pay to the supplier? 5% comes to 25 riyals. Now, this 25 riyals of input VAT, the pharmacy can claim it as a credit in its return. So this is how the return will look like for a pharmacy. There is no output VAT, because the pharmacy falls under a zero rate category, but it has got certain VAT which it paid on its purchases. So this VAT minus 25 of VAT is an input VAT, and the pharmacy can claim it as a refund from the tax authorities. So you notice the key difference between an exempt category and zero rated category. So now let us go to each of the specific zero rate categories to get more details. So we know that in the case of food items, 488 list of food items is already announced by the tax authorities. This will mainly include items like milk, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, drinking water, salt, tea, sugar. So such kind of items will be zero rated. Mainly your necessities, your day-to-day shopping will be zero rated. However, if you are going for a luxury item, you will have to pay 5% VAT on it. Coming to investment in gold, silver and platinum, the articles in the ER have stated that this will be applicable only in the case of first extraction of the precious metal with 99% of purity, and this will apply only in the case of first supply after extraction. So in case you are going out to buy certain gold jewelry from retail shops, then there will be 5% VAT on it. Coming to international and intra-GCC transportation, this is subject to zero rated. So in case you are transporting goods, you are flying out of Oman, then everything will be zero rated. Not only the airfare and the cargo fare, even if you are carrying out certain services which are directly related with transportation, let's say you are transporting certain goods, right? So there will be loading, unloading facilities attached with it. There will be some container charges, packaging, repackaging, filling. So all these related services which are directly linked with the international transportation will also be subject to zero rate. Coming to a supply of carriers for transportation and rescue. So in case there is a supply of aircraft, ship, boat, or any of these kind of vessels which are mainly used for commercial purpose, that will be zero rate. In case there are certain automatic vehicles or trains which are used for public transportation for 10 or more passengers, such supplies will be zero rate. And such kind of vehicles should have a minimum tonnage of 2 tons. And in case there are certain additional services performed on these type of vessels like repairs, maintenance, so such services are also subject to zero rated. And now one important thing is that such kind of boats, ships should not be used for recreation or sports purpose. They should be purely used for commercial purpose for the transportation of passengers or goods. Then only they will fall under zero rating. If they are for recreation purpose, it will be standard rated at 5%. Coming to the oil and gas industries, so the supply of crude oil and its oil derivatives and natural gas is subject to zero rating. Now, if you read the executive regulations there, they have clearly specified that the upstream industries like PDO and all, who are mainly involved in drilling and extraction of oil, these type of industries will be zero rated. Now coming to the midstream industries like which are supplying transportation or storage facilities, or they are supporting the upstream industries, in that case the midstream industry in Oman are also subject to zero rating. However, if you look at UAE VAT law, the midstream industries are standard rated at 5%, but in Oman the government has zero rated even the midstream industries. Now coming to the downstream industries are those which are supplying the end product or distributing the end product to the end users like Shell and Oman Oil, they are selling the oil. So in that case, downstream industries will be standard rated at 5%. But to claim this special rating of zero rating, these upstream and midstream industries, the law wants them to register for VAT, not only for with the tax authorities, but these two industries should also be registered with Ministry of Energy also. Then only they can claim zero rating. Coming to exports of goods. Exports, as I told you earlier, globally in a VAT regimes are zero rated. So in case you are directly exporting, indirectly exporting, or you are re-exporting any goods, everything will be zero rated in Oman. And the executive regulations have laid down certain conditions for good conditions which you need to fulfill to call your transaction as an export transactions. So such an export should actually be outside Oman. Basically your goods should move outside Oman. If the goods are not moving outside Oman and lying at the port for a period more than 90 days, then you cannot qualify that transaction as an export. So the goods should move out, and this should happen within a period of 90 days from the date of supply. And further, your goods should not be consumed, changed, or used in any way except for preparing them for export. For example, let's say you are packaging certain goods and then exporting it. Then there is no change in the goods. So and another scenario, let's say you are exporting a vehicle, and before exporting you are painting the vehicle and making it as an ambulance. In that case, you are changing the identity of that asset, of that goods. In that case, it will not qualify as an export. Now, in the case of export, the tax department wants you to maintain all the documentary evidence, all the custom documents attested by the customs department should be available with you to prove that this transaction was an export. Let's say after 3 years an assessment happens. In that case, in the case of assessment, the department can ask you, please provide us proof and justification for these exports. So in that case, you should be able to produce all the custom related documents to prove that it was exports and it was zero rating. Coming to exports of services. Now, in the case of exports of services, it is really difficult to justify that because there is no custom documents there. So in that case, the executive regulations wants you to confirm that your customer should not have any place of residence in Oman, right? And the benefits of the services should be received by the customer outside Oman. So let's say if a customer in USA has a branch office in Oman and all the services are routed through the branch office, in that case, you will not be able to justify that such a transaction was an export of services. Coming to imports. Imports is very important in VAT regime. We should understand how imports will be treated. So we all know that an import means when you are buying certain goods from an outside supplier. So your outside supplier, let's say he is in USA. So the supplier in USA has nothing to do with the VAT regime in Oman. He will not register. He is an outsider. So in that case, it becomes your responsibility as an importer to account for VAT, right? So it will be treated as reverse charge mechanism. Basically, you are going to invoice yourself. You're going to charge VAT on your own suppliers. So in the case of imports, the executive regulations have put the responsibility of RCM onto the custom departments. So when the goods are coming into Oman, the customs department will charge VAT. So along with the custom clearance, they will calculate the custom duty, the excise duty, as well as the VAT charges. So you will have to pay VAT upfront at the custom clearance to the custom department. Then only they are going to release your goods, right? And in the executive regulations, there is an option available for the importer to apply for deferment of the tax. So in case you feel your import shipment is a high value shipment and there will be a huge VAT liability and you will land into cash flow issues, in that case, you can approach the custom departments for deferment by submitting a financial guarantee or a written guarantee to the department. If the department, and that has to be done at least 30 days before the departure of the shipment. So if the custom department is fine with that, they will approve it, and then you need not pay VAT upfront at the custom clearance. You can defer it. In that case, to regulate is to do the self-regulation. You need to book certain journal entries in your accounting records to book it as a reverse charge mechanism. And in the case of import of services, there is no custom department. In that case, you'll have to self-regulate yourself by booking certain entries in the books so that these type of imports gets recorded and reported in your VAT returns. Coming to very important thing, this is pretty technical, but still very important from VAT perspective. So we all know that in a particular transactions, there can have 3 events can happen. First thing can happen is the receipt of a consideration. Second, the issue of a tax invoice. Third is the supply of goods. So the Oman VAT law has clearly said that whichever event happens first is the trigger point for VAT and your VAT will fall due. Let us say you receive an advance money from your customer. So the moment you receive an advance, the consideration is received, that point has triggered, and that transaction has to be reported in your return. Let us take an example. Let's assume you are in a VAT regime now after 16th of April. So a customer places an order on 20th of May, and later on 25th of May, the goods and services are delivered. So the moment goods and services are delivered on 25th of May, the tax point has already triggered. So this particular transactions you need to report it in your first quarter return. So first quarter ends on 30th of June. So this transaction has to be reported in your return. Even though the tax invoice is issued later on 30th of July and the amount is received later on 10th of August, doesn't make a difference. The tax point has already triggered on 25th of May and this transaction has to be reported. Another important thing is that in the executive regulations, they have stated that from the date of supply of goods, you have to issue a tax invoice within 30 days. So that there is no huge gap between the supply and the tax invoice date. Now, there are certain transitional provisional rules in the VAT law. We are nearing the VAT go live date on 16th of April. So some of the transactions will be ongoing transactions. So how you are going to treat it on 16th of April? There are two important scenarios. Let us understand scenario number one. Let's say your customer places an order on 20th of March and the payment is received and the invoice is also issued on 5th of April. These two events have already taken place before 16th of April. Now let's say the supply has taken place on 30th of May. So you see the supply has taken place after 16th of April. In this scenario, VAT will fall due. Why? Because the supply is a trigger point in the case of transitional provisions. Now coming to the other scenario here, customer places the order on 20th of March. Supply has taken place on 5th of April. That is before VAT go live date. But the payment is received and the invoice is issued on 30th of May. In that case, you see VAT will not be applicable. Why? Because the supply has already taken place before 16th of April. So it is quite clear. You have to see only one important thing, that is the supply. In case the supply has happened before 16th of April, no VAT. In case the supply takes place on and after 16th of April, VAT will apply. Coming to the transitional provisions with regards to long-term contracts. Now, there will be a lot of scenarios in your organizations where you would have paid premiums and rentals for the whole period. Let us say on 1st January you paid a premium. What will happen on 16th of April? So from 16th of April till end of the year, for the remaining period, VAT will apply. So you can see an invoice, a tax invoice coming from your insurance company for the VAT amount. So mainly in the case of long-term contracts, you have to ensure whether your contracts have a VAT language or not. In case the contracts are silent on tax clause, then the consideration will be deemed to be inclusive of VAT and you will have to bear the VAT burden of VAT. Now coming to the place of supply rules. Now it is very important for all of us to understand the place of supply rules because this will help you to determine whether Oman VAT will apply or not. So there has been different rules in the case of goods and services. Now in the case of goods, the place of supply rule says that in case the goods are supplied without transportation, then in that case the place of supply is the place where the goods are placed for the customer disposal. For instance, you go to Avenues Mall and buy certain goods. So there is no transportation involved. So the place of supply will be in Oman and Oman VAT will attract. Now in case there is a transportation involved in that transaction, then the rule says that we have to see where the transportation actually begins. Let's say, for instance, you are ordering certain goods through an e-commerce site from UAE. So once you order, the UAE supplier will dispatch the goods from his warehouse in UAE. In that case, the transportation begins in UAE, so UAE VAT will apply, not Oman VAT will apply. Coming to place of supply rules in case of services, the thumb rule says that we have to actually see whether the customer is registered or not. So in case your customer is registered for VAT, then the place of supply is the customer's place of residence. If the customer is not registered, then it is the supplier's place of residence. So these are some of the general rules, or we can say thumb rules for place of supply, but the executive regulations have given certain special cases also. In the case of special services, like in the case of transportation of goods and services and related services, we have to see where the transportation begins. Let's say you bought an airfare in Oman, air ticket in Oman, but the journey starts in UAE. Then the place of supply is UAE because the journey starts there. So UAE VAT will apply, not Oman VAT. In the case of place of supply for real estate and related services, here we have to see where the property is located. For instance, let's say there is a Saudi citizen. He has a property in Oman. So Oman VAT will apply because the property is located in Oman. Coming to place of supply rules in case of network telecommunication services, here you have to see where the goods are actually being consumed or enjoyed. For example, you are using services of Ooredoo. So this, in this case, the place of supply will be Oman. In the case of fixed telecommunication service provider, we have to see where the telecommunication devices are located, and accordingly VAT will apply. In the cases of electronically supplied services like cloud services or e-commerce sites, so here also we have to see where the actual services are being consumed or enjoyed. So in case any of your businesses fall in these type of categories, the place of supply rule is very important, and you have to evaluate and then apply the VAT law, VAT rates. Now coming to refunds, while discussing the zero rated category, I gave you an example of a pharmacy. So in that example, you would have realized that the pharmacy falls under a refund situation. So now there are certain rules and conditions laid down in the executive regulations to claim the refunds. So in case you are falling in the refund situation, you can apply to the tax authorities within 5 years from the end of the tax period. So you have a window of 5 years from the end of your tax period. During this 5 years, you can send an application. This application should have proper reasons with all the supporting documentary evidence, right? And such a refund amount should be an undisputed amount. It should be a final amount, and you should not claim refund for less than Omani Riyal 100 for this. So if all these conditions are met, and if the authorities are satisfied with this application, then they will accept the application within 30 days of receiving the application, and they shall give you a refund also within 15 days. Now it is up to the authority whether they want to fully refund or partially refund. And it also depends on which kind of industry you are belonging to. If you are belonging to a zero rate category, the department might think about your application and give you a refund. But in case you fall under a refund situation just because you had a huge purchases in a quarter and then you go ahead applying for a refund, then the department might think and they will ask you to carry forward that refund to the next quarter. So this is totally at the discretion of the tax authorities whether to accept a refund or not. Coming to deregistration, this is also very important for all of us to know. In case you are ceasing to provide any taxable supplies or you are transferring your business to another person, you need to apply for deregistration within 30 days. Also, in case your turnover falls below the voluntary or the mandatory threshold, again you need to intimate to the tax authorities and apply for deregistration. Now, in the case of penalties, they have clearly stated that if you don't apply for deregistration, if you don't notify, don't maintain proper records, even after deregistering, there are certain administrative penalties for that. Now coming to consequences for non-compliance, now these are certain penalties, fines and penalties mentioned in the executive regulations as well as in the VAT law. Now in VAT law, there are 2 articles. Both the articles have emphasized on fines as well as imprisonment. So what are these? In case you fail to identify the responsible person or appoint another in his absence, fine is there. So at the beginning, my colleague would have explained you about the responsible person. So it is evident now, if in case the responsible person is traveling out of Oman for more than 90 days, then you need to intimate the tax authorities at least 15 days before his departure, right? In case you are not intimating them or you are not appointing an alternative person in his absence, then you might attract fines. Intentional failure to notify any change in the registration details. If there is any change, you have to intimate to the authorities. Intentional failure to maintain tax invoices and records. Failure to submit VAT returns or incorrect return or timely submission of records. Failure to issue VAT invoices or issue any incorrect VAT invoices. Committing any act to prevent the authority from carrying out their duties. So in any of these situations, you will attract fines as well as imprisonment. Coming to the other article, in case you fail to register, so you already know the registration windows and the threshold. In case you are in a 0 rated or in a standard rated category and you attract a particular registration window, you should register immediately. Deliberate failure to report correct taxable value and tax payable in VAT return, submitting forged returns or documents to evade tax payment, deliberately destroying, concealing or disposing documents and records, any intentionally instigating or assisting taxable person in submitting incorrect returns or documents. In all these scenarios, imprisonment as well as fine is there. Now, in case there is a delay in filing the return, so as most of the entities would have registered, so we all know that the first quarter begins on 16th of April and ends on 30th June. And so you need to file your first return within 30 days from the end of the quarter. That is by 30th of July, you should pay VAT and file the return. So in case there is a delay in filing the return, then there is an additional tax ranging from 1 to 25%, and the tax authority will, at the time of delay, will charge accordingly. Coming to the executive regulations have further given certain administrative penalties. So these are only monetary fines and penalties. There is no imprisonment in these scenarios. Let's say failure to submit tax return on the legally prescribed date for submission. So if you don't file your return timely, there is a fine. Failure of the taxable person to display the registration certificate in a visible place of these regulations. So since all of you, most of you would have registered for VAT, you would have got a registration certificate. This registration certificate, you have to display it in your offices. The taxable person whose registration has been cancelled fails to keep the accounting records and books and documents. So in that case also, if you're not maintaining documents after deregistration, you will attract fines. Coming to other article, the refund of tax was based on incorrect documents. So let's say you are applying for refund. You saw the refund conditions. You apply for refund, but you are giving incorrect, insufficient or wrong documents. Then there is a fine in that case. The taxable person fails to apply to cancel the registration from the tax in the compulsory cases specified in the law. So you fall under deregistration criteria and you fail to apply for cancellation, then also there is a fine. The person who incorrectly receives a tax refund fails to repay the amount due as soon as he becomes aware of the error. So you have taken an erroneously, you have taken a refund. So in that case, you have to immediately repay that amount to the tax authorities, otherwise there is a fine. Failure to present prices of goods and services inclusive of tax. So from 16th of April, all the entities who are into retail business, they need to publish they need to redo their price listing, and all the prices mentioned in their shops, stores should be VAT inclusive, right? So these were the fines and penalties. This was the presentation from my end. So thank you very much for participating. I would like to see some of the questions coming from the audience. Let me go to the questions. I hope the presentation was quite informative. So we will take few questions from the audience. Okay. In the case, I have a question from attendees. Please put some light on VAT on services. So, sir, when my colleague was talking about when on what VAT will be levied, so it was quite evident VAT will be levied on goods and services both. And in definition of goods was quite clear. Whatever you can touch, feel, tangible, intangible will form part of goods, and anything which doesn't form part of goods will fall under the definition of services. So basically, if you are providing goods and there is a service attached to it, let's say a supply of goods and an installation service, then that also is VATable at 5%, right? Next question is, in case of an invoice is in a foreign currency, do we require to mention Omani Riyal for all columns or on the tax value? See, as per the executive regulations, the invoice can be in Omani Riyal and in the foreign currency, but you need to translate it to Omani Riyal and you need to take an average purchase and sale price of that currency published on the CBO side. So you have to take an average purchase and sale price and apply that and convert it to Omani Riyal. You can do it as a line item also, or you can do it at a total level also. It is up to you. But there were certain mandatory fields in the tax invoice which we had shared with you. So your template should include all the mandatory fields. There is another question. In case of a customer outside Oman, they won't be having no VAT. See, in case your customer is outside Oman, then that is a scenario of exports, and as I told you, they will all be zero rated, right? Do we need to inform separately regarding responsible person how to notify the tax authority in this through the portal or a separate letter? So probably as of now, there are no forms available from the tax authorities. Soon, once we go live in the coming weeks, we will see more forms and coming and more clarification coming. In case the responsible person will be traveling, there will be a form available. You have to fill that form and notify the tax authorities. There is a question, VAT on deemed supply will be applicable over and above 1,000 riyals. Yes, in the case of deemed supply, I did not touch upon it because this was quite in technical in general. So, but since there's a question, I will explain. In the case of deemed supply, when entities are providing FOC items or they are giving free items or they are giving certain samples to their customers for approval, in that case also VAT will apply, right? But there is a threshold provided by the executive regulation that is up to 50 riyals per customer or 1,000 riyal for all the customers yearly. Up to this threshold, there won't be any VAT. The moment you cross this threshold of 1,000 riyals, it will fall under a deemed supply and 5% VAT you will have to pay to the authorities. In that case, you are not going to collect anything from your customer. You have to pay VAT from your pocket and you will have to issue a tax invoice, even though that tax invoice will be more like self-regulating your records. You're not going to issue that invoice to the customers. Coming to the next question. Interest charges on overdraft facilities by bank will fall under VAT. No, I told you when I was discussing the financial segment, I clearly told any interest charges will be exempt. So basically financial institutions, if they are giving loans, overdraft facilities, there will be an interest element. Even on deposits, there is an interest element. These interest charges are out of scope. Only the facilitation or the fees which the banks are charging, or the processing, loan processing fees, that will have VAT on it. Now I can see a lot of questions. Paul, do we have time, or we can continue for how many more minutes? 5 more minutes. Okay. Okay. There is one more question coming. Is input VAT blocked on catering services availed from a catering service provider for our employees? Yes, this is pretty clear. See, in the case of catering services providers, the input VAT is not blocked, but it is advised as per the executive regulation, you should not claim these. These are non-claimable expenses. That is, if you are, if somebody is supplying catering services to you, he will charge you VAT. So you should not avail that as a credit. Right? This is as per Article 56 of the ER. I'll go to the next question. Okay, there's a question coming. We are on a basic category of 250,000 turnover. We already have registered for VAT. Our period is 1st July onwards. Till July, whatever we pay to our supplier, how do we recover, or shall we charge VAT from to our? I would like to emphasize on this. See, in case you have registered in category 2, so that means your implementation date starts on 1st of July. Right? But your supplier on the other side might have been in first category and would have registered already, and for him the implementation date is 16th of April. Since your supplier is a registered person, he will definitely give you a tax invoice in the format. He will charge you 5% VAT. So that 5% VAT is your input VAT. But since you are not registered, your implementation date is not 16th of April, you will not be able to claim it as a credit because you are not going to file the return. For you, the filing return date is October. Your quarter is 1st July till September, and you will file the return by October. So when you are filing your return, you can claim all the credits which you would have paid to your supplier who charged you VAT because he registered before you. So this is very clear. You can claim these credits from the date of registration until 3 years. So the VAT law has given a bigger window for 3 years. Okay, I'll go to the next question. Okay, here is a question. Can we round off sale prices for small value items? So as per the VAT law, you have to show their invoices should show up to 3 decimal places. So you can round off up to 3 decimal places. Local company manufacturing products and exporting the finished products. Whether such services will be treated as export services and zero rated. Yes, if the local company is producing goods and exporting it, it will fall under export of goods, and that will be zero rated. Okay, I think now we shall close the webinar, and I would like to invite Mr. Davis to conclude the webinar. Thank you very much for your time.
Dear participants, we had a very good attendance today. All the people who are there, were sitting throughout. It gave me quite a good, happy moment that people are quite interested in this, and I should thank Excellency for organizing this event. And it has been a very interesting session throughout. And these our assistants doesn't end here. Any of the participants, any of the attendees who would like to clarify any further questions, you can be in touch with us. My name is Davis Kalkaran, at Crow Oman. So you can email to us, or Ms. Asta Rangan, or my colleague Taisir Al Rawahi. Taisir was with the tax department for about 23 years, and he just moved after the VAT law was established in Oman. So he was more or less deeply involved in the VAT law of Oman. So he is also here. So we have a team who can assist. And so thank you very much. Excellency, would you like to put in a word?
So just to thank Crow for an excellent presentation, and best wishes to all members of the Indian community in adjusting to the new law and the new situation. And once again, thank you, Crow, for making this effort. Thank you.
From my side also, I wish everyone a holy month of Ramadan. Greetings to you all, and the New Year greetings to all my Indian friends. Wherever we are, whichever state we come from, we all celebrate the New Year, and it's a good beginning. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you.